you. So what the fuck we gon' do? Keep it fresh with soul news. Moving in perpetual motion like Frankie Ocean. I vaguely noticed the locust floating over, feeling hopeless. I'm moving in perpetual motion like Frankie Ocean. I vaguely noticed the locust floating over, feeling hopeless. I know moving in perpetual motion like Frankie Ocean. I vaguely noticed the locust floating over, feeling hopeless. I'm moving in perpetual motion like Frankie Ocean. I vaguely noticed the locust floating over, feeling hopeless. I know life's a bitch and it's all designed. Never pick up when I call the line. She wanna keep me right down and I just let it happen and I need to find the way out I want to. Somehow I want you. So what the fuck we gon' do? Keep it fresh with soul news. Moving in perpetual motion like Frankie Ocean. I vaguely noticed the locust floating over, feeling hopeless. I'm moving in perpetual motion like Frankie Ocean. I vaguely noticed the locust floating over, feeling hopeless. I know moving in perpetual motion like Frankie Ocean. I vaguely noticed the locust floating over, feeling hopeless. I'm moving in perpetual motion like Frankie Ocean. I vaguely noticed the locust floating over, feeling hopeless. I know life's a bitch and it's all designed. She wanna keep me right down and I find a way out I want to. What the fuck we gon' do? Moving in perpetual motion like Frankie Ocean. I vaguely noticed the locust floating over, feeling hopeless. I'm moving in perpetual motion like Frankie Ocean. I vaguely noticed the locust floating over, feeling hopeless. I know moving in perpetual motion like Frankie Ocean. I vaguely noticed the locust floating over, feeling hopeless. I'm moving in perpetual motion like Frankie Ocean. I vaguely noticed the locust floating over.
Heyo, 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 hi, hey. Howdy, everybody.
What's good? We're here. Another one.
Happy Wednesday. We're here, number 22, baby.
Yep, 22. We just hit 22 ago. That's what that
22
means.
ago. Our show can drink. Our show can take out loans with high interest rates.
Can go die in a war in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Could do all kinds of stuff. It's just about as old as the Afghanistan war.
Yeah.
If you count every episode as a year.
And then Michael's having a little bit of mic issues, so he'll be with us here shortly in a second.
Yeah. If you can't tell, we're all a little tired, but we make it here every night for y'all. So
yeah, my bad. I accidentally had the stream open in another tab, and it started playing an ad during the.
That's what I heard. I was wondering what that was.
That was my bad.
I thought it was part of the song for a second.
At least I figured out what it was.
I was like, I don't remember this part of the song.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How's everyone's week been though? Give a couple minutes for people to join.
Oh man, I had an amazing 3-day weekend off of work, which I haven't had in like a year plus. So that was cool.
We got the game.
Yeah, we got to game it out. Hopped on some Counter-Strike, which is always
greatest game ever made.
Oh yeah, it's the perfect first-person shooter. It's got
It's true.
It's got everything.
And you know it's the best game because the countries that have the best social welfare programs
have the best
at the game.
Players.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just how
Come on. It's simple.
Denmark's been on top for as long as I can remember.
Yep. And Denmark is killing the game in social welfare.
So. Oh yeah. And like one of my favorite players, Reyes from Norway, usually ranks number 1 as the happiest country on earth. So. And
you know he seems like a very happy, consistent guy too.
Oh yeah.
It shows up.
Maybe all that social welfare is something we should get on here in the States.
It's true.
Nah, fuck that.
Let's just not do any of the like in Finland, like the players that have to swap out because they got to do mandatory military service.
Yeah. Fuck that shit.
Jesus, yeah, fuck that shit. Exactly. Especially if you're an Israeli player, fuck that shit.
IDF, fucking IDF TST.
IDF CS player. Opping Palestinian children.
Oh, am I on?
Hey, you're on.
We got him. Okay.
There we go. So with that, I think we start the show.
Yeah. Everything good, Michael? Your mic work?
Yeah, does it sound alright?
Yeah, you sound good.
All right, cool.
All right, cool. Let's run it then. Let's pull up that Daily Poster article. And I've heard as of today that just as an update to this, and it's a fucking joke, but they're saying now that there might be like a $500.
Yeah, I've heard $500 to $600 stimulus.
Yeah, which still a joke. But
what the fuck is that?
Yeah,
that's half of what we got last time.
Apart from this, that's the only new thing I've heard. But yeah, here you are from the Daily Poster. It's David Sirota's publication. It says, Scoop, stimulus bill bails out defense contractors, denies direct payments to families. Buried in the new 525-page stimulus bill is a provision granting military contractors benefits that are being denied to workers and small businesses across the country. Earlier this year, Republican senators slammed the idea of spending money to pay Americans not to work during the pandemic. Only a few months later, a group of GOP senators has signed on to bipartisan stimulus legislation that would authorize the government to pay idle defense contractors to not work, even as those contractors rack up big profits during the pandemic. Meanwhile, the same bill excludes bipartisan provisions authorizing direct payments to millions of Americans struggling to survive. Yeah, break that down. It's disgusting. They're just giving stimulus money to companies like fucking Blackwater, etc., all these Raytheon, etc., these people that make weapons that kill children in the Middle East. They're getting stimulus money, but not hardworking Americans that are struggling right now.
The people who literally need it the least during a pandemic are weapons manufacturers, and of course, we're going to do it for them. What's up, Pablo? Welcome to chat, brother.
Welcome, Pablo. Was Pablo
our sister? Yeah, our first ever non-prime sub. Yeah.
Hey, Pablo, you're the shit.
Tier 1, mommy or daddy. Welcome to the fucking show. Welcome back.
For Pablo, I'll refresh here. Yeah, this is just going through now they're going to talk about the CARES Act. Here it says the draft stimulus legislation obtained by the Daily Poster includes an extension of a program to replace the wages of certain government contractors who miss work due to COVID-19. The program, Section 3610 of the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security, CARES Act, allows federal agencies to reimburse contractors who are unable to work in person due to the pandemic and whose jobs do not allow telework for up to 40 hours per week of lost wages. In effect, the program uses government money to reimburse defense contractors for giving paid leave to their employees. The provision was added to the last page of the 525-page bill after defense contractors sent a letter to congressional lawmakers lobbying for the language. The same bill does not authorize direct payment to millions of Americans, nor does it reimburse small businesses for providing paid leave benefits for their workers. While the bill would fund $300 a week in new federal unemployment benefits, that's half as much as Congress distributed under the CARES Act, and millions of people will see their unemployment benefits lapse on December 26. It's 10 days from now as of the show, as will likely take weeks to reprogram state unemployment systems. And here's the best part. Quote, "This is about need and not greed," unquote, referring to the paying out for these contractors, said Senator Joe Manchin, one of the Democratic sponsors of the bill, who has called new direct payments to families, quote, "a bad idea," unquote. Nearly 12 million U.S. renters. He's against Medicare for all, says it's a bad idea to give U.S. renters fucking direct payments right now, but but when it's for these corporations and for Blackwater, etc., it's about need, not greed.
And before you continue, something interesting about what you just read, how they said they're gonna. How it's basically government money reimbursing defense contractors for giving their employees paid leave. Raytheon, for example, in third quarter of 2019 made $7.4 billion in profit. So that's after paying all their employees. So it's not like they need any sort of stimulus whatsoever to pay their employees for paid time off. They made $7.4 billion in profit at quarter 3. So that's after paying all their employees, et cetera, et cetera. That's just profit. So yeah, of course.
And we should be blunt. I mean, profit is their profit specificcy is extra disgusting because
they literally profit off the death of innocent children. Yeah. Exactly. They serve no other purpose currently in America than to kill brown children across the pond.
Yep.
And continue to destabilize places like the Middle East and the global South.
Yeah. Just to finish up here, but yeah, great points. Nearly 12 million U.S. renters will be behind $5,850 in rent by January, according to the Washington Post. Independent Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont and Senator Josh Hawley have been pushing lawmakers to include language in stimulus legislation, giving $1,200 stimulus checks to millions of families. That was not included in the same stimulus that includes a subsidy program for defense contractors. In July, Senate Republicans introduced a stimulus package, which included $11 billion in appropriations to reimburse defense contractors for payments made under Section 3610, following lobbying from the defense industry. Quote, Section 3610 provides authority for agencies to cover from existing funds certain contractor costs and keep key personnel and skilled workers in a ready state, unquote. Lobbying groups and executives from representing defense contractors and other government contractors wrote on December 11th. The provision was first renewed in September as part of a continuing resolution passed by Congress, following advocacy from Democratic senators and defense contractors, and was renewed again last week as part of a one-week government funding agreement. And just to push one thing out from this piece, yeah, it's, you got the worst Dem scum like Joe Manchin, but it's the Democratic Party at large pushed through, let the CARES Act basically happen with no fight, and now they're just siphoning our money, you and me, our money. They're giving that to fucking defense contractors, but they're not giving it to both us and other people that need it right now in a pandemic. And yeah, economic collapse.
So if I remember the numbers, then we contribute about an average of $3,000 a person to the Pentagon budget.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're gonna add a little more to that with this.
Yeah, that's just to the Pentagon budget. This is coming directly from the government through the CARES Act to these defense contractors.
Yeah, it's literally like they passed this bill that says we're gonna take your money, the money that you pay us,
and not give it to you to help
and
you.
not give it to you at all. All that money that you give us every month, every paycheck, all that money, no, you're gonna see none of it. But these guys, these billionaires that kill brown children in the Middle East, they're gonna take your money
because they employ a lot of people.
Deal with it. Yeah, exactly. Who is it? Raytheon or was it what's it called? Boeing. They got like an award for like the most diverse staff or whatever. They got like some kind of award for that.
It might have been Raytheon, actually.
I want to say it was Raytheon.
And one of these defense contractors has a female CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they got the award for hiring like some amount of like trans people and
they diversified
they diversified the war machine.
Yeah, exactly.
When the issue obviously is the war machine itself, of course.
Yes. We can move from this. Carlos, you have a video, yeah?
No, it's a article.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's pull that up next.
You're wrong.
You're wrong.
All right, Carlos, talk.
So, we got a little piece here from Richard Wolff. We don't get to bring him up too much on this show, but it's nice to hear from him when we do. So he poses a little question here as the headliner. Can progressives save Biden from disastrous economic policies? Well, if you know his record, probably not, but it doesn't mean that it might not be worth a try to at least give some suggestions, even if they fall on deaf ears. It's better to at least let the people know what's up if the cronies want to stay in and not listen to us. So I'll start reading from here. Since the 1970s, U.S. real wages have largely stagnated. After a century of real wages rising every decade, that stagnation changed the lives of U.S. working class of the U.S. working class in traumatic ways. Likewise, since the 1970s, labor productivity grew steadily, aided sequentially by computers, robots, and artificial intelligence. The combination of stagnant real wages and rising productivity lowered labor's share of national income in favor of capitals. Profits consequently soared and took the stock markets with them. Income and wealth were redistributed sharply upward. The post-1970 trauma of the working class was worsened, as traumas often are, by being minimally recognized and even less discussed in the media, among politicians, or in the academy. Workers thus encountered at the end of a century of real rising wages individually as a mysterious evaporation of the American dream, or loss of an earlier American greatness. They also reacted individually. More members of households, especially adult women, undertook more hours of paid labor outside the home to compensate for stagnant real hourly wages. Households also compensated by borrowing more heavily than any working class anywhere had ever done. Workers wanted so desperately to hold on to that American dream. Capital obliged. Mortgage and auto debt spread more widely and deeply throughout the U.S. population. Credit cards were newly promoted to consumers who filled millions of wallets with many of them. Towards the end of the 20th century, capital added massive student lending that now exceeds total U.S. credit card debt. Capital thereby supplemented its profits from production, boosted by stagnant wages, by adding interest on consumer and student debts that were undertaken because of those lower wages. No wonder the U.S. stock market boomed in the 1980s and 1990s. No wonder the Clintons and other centrist Democrats celebrated the debt boom for their political advantage instead of attending to the immense risks and disruptive social costs. So it just shows that the corporate parties will just uphold this system as long as they can. I'll skip a little bit here. So Donald Trump opportunistically tapped enough of the U.S. working class's bitterness to swing the votes needed to win the presidency in 2016. However, the interconnected finances and ideologies of the centrist Democrats who had taken over the party after the 1970s shared with Republicans the responsibility for that bitterness. They led the Democratic Party into increasing dependence on donations from the capitalist class. They likewise drifted even further from the working class base that had rallied for the Democrats during the Great Depression of the 1930s. The neoliberal turn in U.S. capitalism under Ronald Reagan had two key impacts on the U.S. working class. First, neoliberalism endorsed capitalist globalization and export of jobs, especially better paying, more unionized jobs, after the 1970s. Second, by accelerating the deregulation of industries and markets, neoliberalism facilitated automation and weakened or removed various labor protections. In short, the neoliberal turn was and remains a major cause of the U.S. working class's decline and its resulting bitterness and anger. So, as we can see, for most people that are out of work or they don't pay attention to politics, the system's pretty much abandoned them, and it's not coming back. And it has no intention of coming back for them.
Absolutely.
It shows the need more now than ever that we gotta band together as people. No one else is looking out for us.
I think that's the key obviously his analysis is right too. It's that neoliberal turn that the Dem Party took, both in, their own estimation and as a reaction to, the Reaganism and the far right, that really destroyed the Democratic Party because they didn't represent working people anymore.
All right, here, I'll pick up a little further in. Both major parties, following the dictates of the Cold War, together eviscerated the class-based politics stressed from the 1930s to 1945. An integral part of the undoing of the New Deal was canceling a politics where Republicans confronted Democrats as representatives of employer versus employee. Instead, class conflict quickly faded from both parties' statements and thinking. They focused instead on carving up the same working class into different, competing portions. Employers are chief funders of both parties, who then limit themselves to minimal references to class issues except for the occasional, fleeting campaign rhetoric. However, the class silence of the major parties created the need and opportunity for the revival of what they had repressed. Progressives such as Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and a growing number of others across U.S. politics are riding the wave of protest against all that was lost when centrists took over the Democratic Party. That takeover presumed the undoing of the New Deal, the repression of strong communist and socialist parties built in the 1930s and early 40s, and the neoliberal turn that came to dominate public policy. Many of today's progressives, inside and outside the Democrat Party, want to reconstruct U.S. politics as, once again, class politics. He does note in there, I didn't read it, but he says, many, not all.
Not all, yeah.
So we do have our Fox progressive.
Yeah, okay, buddy. Beechwood, you're getting banned. No anti-Semitism. Fuck off. You're disgusting. Get the fuck out of here.
Jeez.
You're an idiot. You're like an absolute idiot. If you think putting a mask on, even if you think the world is run by Jewish bankers, get the fuck out of here. Enjoy your ban, buddy. Yeah, you're a fucking idiot for that one. Yeah, that was a big mistake, buddy.
I was just reading the chat.
I was.
It's like NWO, New World Order.
At one point, I was actually trying to communicate with you.
Oh no, dude.
But I can tell that you're way too far gone and you're a fucking idiot. If you're still here, fuck off with your anti-Semitism. That's absolutely not allowed. Go back to your little cesspool hole of 8chan and go jack off to hentai, buddy. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Gosh. You see in our one video that we uploaded that's called Pompeo Cucks Mossad, there's a comment and it's just some guy that's like, fuck you, fucking Mossad rules or something. It's like, if you translate it, it's like some shit like that. It's just, god damn it.
Yeah, I love the internet.
Yeah, come back on a sock account, buddy. You'll get banned again. Absolutely not. That is not tolerated in this fucking chat.
No slander of any race or ethnic.
You're a fucking idiot
group.
For that one, buddy. That's crazy to me.
Bringing it back to Carlos's piece, though, yeah, I mean, that's the appeal in all these, the rise in these new Bernie, AOC, et cetera, is they rekindle what made the parties of the Democratic Party of the 30s and 40s viable to working class people.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that people who think that, race issues are the real problem.
Exactly.
That's what's really causing the collapse of society.
You have the capitalists who scapegoat some small minority groups, such as the Jews, who have been consistently oppressed throughout their entire history, and then you have fools like this Beechwood guy who fall into these traps because maybe at one point they did have genuine concerns on where their future is going, but sadly, because of how much of an outreach the far right can have, they fall into these cesspools and their brain literally rots out of their fucking skull and they become idiots like this guy who blames everything that's going on in the world on Jewish bankers.
Yeah,
and thinks that the New World Order, some imaginary group, is gonna somehow save them, as if that exists, and as if the Jews are any sort of an issue when they're not.
Well, here's the ironic part. You see that there's a lot of really rich Jewish people who own a lot of stake in a lot of companies, but your takeaway is the Jewish part is the problem.
Right, exactly. Not the structure, the hierarchy, but the people involved.
Exactly, and this is something.
It's the same thought process as diversifying, the war machine. That's going to solve it.
Exactly, and this is something.
Yeah, you just take the Jews out. Someone else will come in and do.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
Stokely Carmichael or Kwame True talks about a fucking lot. When all you do is be like, when you don't look at the system that's oppressing the people, and all you look at is the people that are being oppressed, you're never going to come to any sort of conclusion. Or Richard Wolff has even said that people will debate every single topic except capitalism. They'll say, "Oh, it's the Jews. Oh, it's the blacks. Black crime. This and that. Women this, women that. Trans people this, trans people
Because
that."
to confront capitalism, you have to confront pretty much the myth of America, the entire mythology of your life for a lot of people.
Exactly.
So people are driven. I don't know if that guy is a specific example, but people are driven into, illogical ways of thinking, racism, deductive ways of thinking about politics, because our working class politic has been immiserated, and there's nowhere for them to go.
Absolutely.
Because look at how many people that we thought maybe weren't too far gone, but people that were at some bit politically illiterate, but due to us building some kind of political movement, i.e. when Bernie was still in the race, like there was so much hope because it was bringing out all kinds of people.
Yeah.
And that's the whole appeal of, working class politics.
Yeah, and sadly, the system we exist under, it creates people like this.
Yeah. Yeah, well, especially with, neoliberalism has carved out the, Democratic Party. There's nowhere for people to go for the most part.
Exactly.
So people are driven to racism and to all kinds of nasty shit, honestly.
Yeah.
We don't need to spend a whole lot of time on it. I'll
let's move on.
We're almost.
Absolutely.
We're almost
it's really
done with
great.
this piece, so.
Yeah.
All right. Where was I? Let's see. I'll just start from this third paragraph here. So, both major parties are now stuck with their commitments to a system that has failed spectacularly. Private and public sectors were unprepared for and could not contain a deadly virus handled far more successfully in many other countries. U.S. capitalism likewise failed to prepare or contain the social damage from the latest in its regularly recurring cyclical crashes. These new failures compounded earlier, ongoing failures to overcome global warming and the crisis of U.S. race relations. These and other systemic failures are eroding mass support for those parties, just as the mounting sufferings of the working class seek political expression and solutions. Trump's right-wing republicanism solved none of the United States' basic economic problems. It did worsen income and wealth inequalities. Yet, it spoke to millions of working-class people who feel betrayed by the Democrats and attracted by the usual Republican references to religion, region, and race. The 3 R's. Obama's regime had likewise solved nothing in the United States' basic economic problems, while worsening income and wealth inequalities and barely overcoming the 2008 capitalist crash in ways that set up the next one. But he did give us Obamacare, which was the right-wing plan.
Right, the Heritage Foundation plan.
Better than nothing, but, I mean, we see how bad it is now.
Yep.
So, Obama did speak to millions of working-class people gathered around issues of gender, race, ethnicity, and sexual orientation. Biden gives every sign, in conditions of even worse economic and political decline, of repeating these oscillating failures. In doing so, he prepares the way for the next Trump. The key question that revolves around progressives inside and outside of the Democratic Party: do enough of them have the needed clarity and understanding, courage to act, and wisdom to see their deficit in terms of strong organization? Can those who do seize the opportunity to ride a return of class politics into U.S. society? Will they effectively resist both major parties' efforts to silence and destroy them? Meanwhile, the establishment Democrats and Republicans will continue their oscillating failures as the U.S. system's mode of decline. And I think that's a very strong way to end it. We need to really move past the two-party system. Because as long as we're stuck arguing with people who vote Republican, or Republicans are stuck arguing with people who vote Democrat, like, we're not really getting anywhere.
Yeah.
We need to get everyone together on issues that affect real people, like Medicare for All. Don't make it a Democrat or a Republican issue. Make it a people issue.
Yeah, and sadly, that was one of the ruses that Biden was running on. He said he's not going to worry about red states or blue states. He's going to worry about Americans or the United States. When in reality,
restoring the soul of America.
Exactly. When in
Well, I mean,
reality,
that's just centrist talk.
Exactly. In reality, he's not going to help anybody at all except for those who are rich. But yeah, like it's true. We need to stop this red versus blue bullshit, and we need to fix the American working force and the American working class. I mean,
We can't disregard the two parties and then go to full one party corporatism, which is unfortunately what a lot of these people want to do.
Absolutely.
Which we got to return to the real working class who builds this country from the ground up and will do so again after this pandemic is over. Just remember that.
Yeah. I would add that on top of like focusing on these insurgent, like inside progressive members of the Dem Party too. Like the thing that's going to create more of them and move them and give us ability to both destroy the system and make it work for us is still focus on that. Building working class politic organization.
Of course.
Obviously, we still don't see how that's going to foment because all of our institutions have been fucking destroyed in this country.
I mean, and absolutely, and our labor force is so weak and
non-existent, and
absolutely unorganized, as well as the American left is incredibly unorganized. And we need to start building those coalitions if we want to really affect how the working class lives and exists in America and globally as well. Because us being the superpower we are, we have a lot of dictation on what happens around the world.
I guess as we see material conditions get worse, we're going to see more of a possibility of something happening, unfortunately. Something changing, like people standing up. So,
and then
we'll see.
To kind of tack on to what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Do we smoke weed? Hell yeah, we smoke weed, brother. We smoke big old fucking dope. I actually have some cherry cheesecake or strawberry cheesecake in my bong right now.
Yep, Jack.
The hardest drug that can't kill you.
Yep.
We're smoking big old fucking dope, bro. But yeah, tacking on to what we were just talking about. I have this article here from Tribune. We've talked about them before. They're badass from United Kingdom. And can we pull it up on screen real quick?
They run a magazine, but I don't think you can get the subscription in the States, which sucks.
Yeah.
But it's cool. They still have all their stuff free, all their articles.
Mm-hmm. So reading off the title, How Being Exploited at Work Undermines Your Mental Health. A new study shows the exploitative working conditions have severe impact on mental health and makes the case for empowering workers through unions and workplace democracy, which is something that we talk about quite a lot and we just got done talking about. Cheers, boys. Welcome. Nick, welcome to the stream too, brother. Simon, you too. Yeah, facts.
God, I love weed.
God, I love All right, yeah. So getting into the article here by Tribune. It's pretty intuitive that being underpaid and overworked leads to psychological distress. A huge body of public health research backs up this intuition by observing a strong link between mental illness and socioeconomic status. Socioeconomic status, in turn, tracks pretty closely to who works hardest and gets paid the least, who has the fewest spare hours and resources to care for themselves, and who is the most alienated from their work, often performing rote or repetitive, boring tasks under strict supervision. Making your sandwiches at like the fucking restaurant you work at and having your manager breathing down your neck, that kind of shit. Same burgers, same bullshit, rude customers, all that. I feel that.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Nick, for the follows.
Hey, thank you guys. Welcome to the stream, brothers. Welcome to the stream. We appreciate you guys. A new paper published in the journal Epidemiology affirms the linkage, but argues that the research to date is limited by its emphasis on surface markers of socioeconomic status. Like income, education, and occupational prestige, the study's authors contend that to really understand the social causes of mental illness, researchers need to look under the hood at the process that gives rise to socioeconomic stratification. To begin with, exploitation, something we talk about very often on this show. And then, if you were interested in
one of our many themes.
It's something if you're interested in looking into what we talk about deeper, you can go to our YouTube, which is down in the description, and you can check out our old streams where we talk about stuff like this. Every Sunday, Wednesday, 10:30. To that end, the researchers sought to measure the relationship between mental illness and degree of exploitation. defined as the value produced by a worker's labor that is not returned to that worker. I found a strong relationship between the two. The paper's title, The Serpent of Their Agonies, Exploitation, as structural determinant, like determination and whatnot, of mental illness, is a reference to a passage written by Karl Marx. For Marx, exploitation was the motor of capitalism, the process that generates profits and keeps the whole system going. To the extent that exploitation both exacerbates mental illness and is endemic to capitalism, solutions to public mental health crises must involve anti-capitalist politics, which is absolutely true, and it's something that we talk about, again, very often on the show, and if you're interested, please check out our old episodes. Megan Day spoke to Seth Prinz, who is the writer of this article, lead author of the paper and assistant professor of epidemiology and socio-medical sciences at Columbia University's Mailman School of Public Health, which is an interesting name for a school, about how and why the study was conducted and its academic and political implications. The impetus for this research and the big question for me is, how does capitalism affect people's health? Mainstream public health research tends to focus more on a downstream question, looking at the so-called social determinants of health. And I think a lot of people who study the social determinants of health really don't understand this class, or really don't understand class. Often they view class as an individual attribute, either an inherited or an achieved one. A person's income, a person's years of education, or the prestige of their job are all sorts of imagined to be characteristics of a person. I cannot talk. But anyone who reads this will know that class is not an individual attribute. It's a social relation, as Marx taught us. And one of the defining features of that social relation is exploitation. Exploitation doesn't mean your annual income, but how much of the value you produce is being appropriated by others. So really quick, stopping off, something we talk about, something that's talked about often is, you have your 8-hour workday. And so when we talk about exploitation, we talk about how much extra value you're producing after the time you've paid for your own wages. So say there's an 8-hour day. Usually by hour 6, you have paid your wage, as well as all the other like overhead things that business take into account. Those extra hours that you were there after, usually around 4 to 6 hours. After that is all surplus labor, which turns into surplus profit. And that is your money. That is the money you created with your labor, assuming that you were as productive as you were when you first came into your job, which you usually are. Nobody just fucking sits around and does nothing. So all that extra money that you're making for this company, you don't see. It goes to the CEO or the owner of the business, and they decide what to do with it. And 9 times out of 10, they absolutely choose to put it in their own pocket or use it to increase productivity, and that it could eventually lead to you losing your job. You have absolutely no say in what happens to the surplus value that you create, and that is obviously exploitation. And as we'll continue on with what's going on.
Here, I'll just interrupt you real quick, and I'll say,
go ahead.
And the point you made about like no one just sits around and wastes their time, I'd actually argue that capitalism encourages people to sit around and waste time on the job.
Yeah, exactly. It creates,
because it's on someone else's dollar for that sense.
Exactly. Yeah,
because you're not actually really benefiting from the real value you're creating.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like that's my whole thing. Like after you've all that surplus you created is a waste, because you're not seeing any of it. It's going straight to your
because you just receive a set wage, and it's not like you may be subject to like the circumstantial factors of, oh, maybe I produced more or I produced less this time or the other, but you don't even see that because it's just a constant.
It's all constant
over time. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%.
And just another side before you go, like of course tied to exploitation too, and that of course has detrimental effects on mental health. But with exploitation, like alienation in work all the time is tied to it. Like, think about how alienating the workplace is, and of course alienation affects your mental health.
Right,
like
Marx talked about that a lot.
Oh yeah, that's his shtick. I mean,
that's
you tell someone just the word alienation has the connotation of being like, oh, that's a mentally unsettling mode of being.
Exactly. And to exist under that every day at a job.
Yeah, people know what that's like. People know what it's like to be alienated, to do the same thing every day, to be disconnected from their labor, not only because they're being exploited, but because by being exploited, their work is alienating.
Exactly. You walk in your job 5+ days a week, you do the same exact thing, and you exist under this dynamic where your boss has absolutely all the power in the world to just get rid of you right then and there. You exist that you have no say in what happens with the company. All of the excess money that you make for the company, you will never see. 9 times out of 10, I want to even say like 9.9 times out of 10, you're never gonna ever see that money. And with the way that the system is built, eventually those jobs, those undesirable jobs that a lot of us have to work just to survive, not to live, but to literally just survive in this world, will be eventually replaced. And capitalism has no sort of systems put in place to rehabilitate you at all. They're just going to let you go ahead and die out. That's why we need to break down the system starting from the bottom to the top, and we need to just get rid of it completely, because it's completely unsustainable for the overwhelming majority of the entire globe. Talking just outside of the Americas. Of course,
it really affects our mental health in every aspect.
The notion that humans are greedy and selfish by nature is a complete lie made by the capitalists to continue to hold and press us down and cause infighting with each other.
Yeah,
justify their own behavior.
Yes.
Think about since you were a kid, all you want to do is help other people and make everybody wants to help everybody, and that's
not to say we can't be competitive. Like for a society that lauds competition like we do, like we're sure not. How does this perpetuate fucking competition?
The competition shouldn't be about making money, and also in a capitalist system, our competition it's wasteful.
It's wasteful. There's no competition. It's not innovative. It's theft.
The competition shouldn't be to get just across the finish line to make the money. The competition should be create the absolute best thing you can, working together to better your society as a whole, rather than just inch over the finish line with a bunch of problems just to get this fucking subsidy from the government and then not deal with any of the problems that it creates. That is capitalism.
Think about sports. What are the best teams? Do they have the best player? No.
They have the most.
They have the best team. They have the best team. That's what's competitive. Working together. The spirit of cooperation.
One star player isn't gonna take you all the way to the final. You have to have a you have to have
a team.
Exactly.
They gotta work together.
100%, yeah. And then I'll go ahead and just read a little bit more. A mainstream social science approach is to look at individuals' annual income and years of education and put that in a model and see how it's associated with physical or mental health. There's a huge body of research that does this kind of work, and we do see very clear social gradients and health outcomes based on those sorts of things. But an insight from Marxist theory is focusing on this gradient really hides this mechanism. Exploitation is what's structuring the types of occupations people have, their income, their opportunities for education, and so on. Since exploitation is actually what creates inequality, surely that's what's making people sick. That might sound obvious, but it's not something that's really demonstrated very often empirically in the literature. That was the goal of the paper. The study found a strong correlation between exploitation and mental illness. To measure mental illness, you use the Chester scale, which is something that a lot of people use in this field, but exploitation is more unconventional thing to measure. How do you go about measuring exploitation? One of the challenges of doing research with data at the level of populations rather than small samples is that a lot of those surveys are long-standing U.S. National Institutes of Health-sponsored surveys or long-standing university-sponsored surveys. We learned a lot from that data, but the questions about occupations and jobs and work tend to be, for lack of a better description, the boss's questions. The sorts of questions that workers, leftists, and union activists might be interested in don't tend to make it to those surveys, which is absolutely true. And so we're forced to get creative with approximating the things that we really want to measure. In this case, actually measuring the classic definition of exploitation is really difficult because you would need to know not only how much money a person has been paid, but also the profit they're generating. and how much their employer is spending on wages, capital outlays, facilities, and so forth. Being able to do that is a long-term goal of mine, the person who wrote this. But right now, it just doesn't really exist in any form that we could get that we could then link to good health data. We figured we could approximate exploitation by looking at what we're calling unconcealed exploitation. Exploitation is inherent to all wage labor, but it's concealed in someone's salary or wage. But people often are exploited above and beyond their wage. You can look at example at how much someone works. Many people work well above the standard 40-hour work week. We looked at people's income based on the standard 40-hour work week compared to their income if you actually counted the total hours that they worked. When you do that, assuming that they're being as productive during those extra hours as they normally are, everything that they're producing in those extra hours is going straight to their employers if they're not being paid overtime. That's how we tried to get a ratio of the hypothetical amount of someone not being paid. And then we're almost done here. I want to go back to this idea of exploitation as a mechanism that structures the conditions of people's lives at and outside of work. I assume it's not the case that correlation you found, the correlation you found means that people are sitting around thinking about how much the value they create is being stolen from them and getting sad or angry, which then exacerbates mental illness, which is absolutely true. Rather, it's more likely that the degree to which you're being exploited tracks with the degree to which you're being alienated from your work, or have to work long or strange hours, or of course getting less take-home pay to cover living costs, much less anything nice, any sort of like luxuries. Am I right that these are all kinds of real links that exist between exploitation and mental illness? Absolutely. So this measure is kind of like a distant upstream indicator that, as you point out, does not depend on whether people are aware of it or not. It's not based on any sort of individual perceptions. There's a huge body of work that shows how the organization of structure of work influences mental health. In the mid-20th century, there was a lot of researchers that looked at feelings of powerlessness and alienation on the job. It was often operationalized more specifically as imbalances between the demand of jobs and the amount of control that you have on the job. All of those things are shown to be associated with increased mental illness and increased substance use. And we actually have fairly good descriptions of how different types of jobs are better or worse at things like autonomy, control of your own schedule, and so forth. The research is great, and those sorts of measures really do depend on an individual perception. But we think that exploitation is something that happens upstream of those factors. The more exploitative a job is, the more the work environment is going to suck. It just became apparent that to us, nobody had ever really actually established that the more distinct upstream factor was itself associated with mental health. But of course, we think that it operates through the characteristics of people's jobs, of which they are much more concisely aware, or consciously aware. Sorry.
If I could real quick, I think just to echo like what we came to a second ago, like those being alienated and being exploitative, if your job is super exploitative, it's going to be that much more alienating too.
Of course, you're going to feel like
it creates so much more alienation. So it's like they're both tied to each other, and they both, destroy your mental illness or your mental state.
Yeah,
your mental health, because they're antithetical to the human mind and the healthiness of what it is to be human.
And it's obviously the complete opposite of what the profit motive is. I can't make sure you're happy and getting what you need while also trying to make as much money as I possibly can as a capitalist.
Yeah, because happiness that doesn't matter. That matters.
That doesn't exist under capitalism, and it can't, because when you try to make sure people are happy, you're losing out on money. And the whole point of capitalism is to make as much money as you can and accumulate that wealth at the top, and continue to have these monarch-like families that are insanely rich and will always be insanely rich.
Yep.
Or they just inspire people to become like them, the rich and the few.
Exactly.
And those who are at the bottom of the chain,
the rich, and those who perpetuate the myth of the rich.
Yeah,
they have trouble to prosper.
Of course, and that's how it's supposed to work. And then just finishing up here, last little bit. If this link between exploitation and mental illness is established, then many people will surely respond that if you want to solve this problem, you should eliminate exploitation. But if we're following Marx, exploitation is endemic to capitalism. It is tied. It is a integral piece of capitalism. not something that can simply be taken out from our economic system. What are the implications for mental health of people in our capitalist society? This type of research is a kind of reaction to another variety of public health research that tends to individualize these issues. For example, you end up with a lot of recommendations for workplace wellness and seminars on work-life balance, essentially making it the responsibility of the individual workers to try and deal with the conditions of wage labor. Obviously, those things are going to have a limited success. I think they're emblematic of a neoliberal approach to the thinking about public health and public health interventions. Instead of work-life balance seminars or essentially therapy for being exploited, let's talk more about workplace democracy. Let's talk about worker ownership. Let's talk about non-reformist reforms that chip away at the way we've structured our labor markets. The point of this research is to say that actually the thing that's making people sick is inherent to the nature of wage labor. And you really can't change that unless you're willing to confront capitalism, which is absolutely true. And it's something that we just got done talking about. And until you look at the system that is oppressing these people, you'll never come to a real, an actual realization about the issue. If you continue to blame this, and that, or try to remedy this, and that, without looking at the system that is creating these issues and changing it, you're never going to fix the problem. You're only going to continue to band-aid this wound that will grow bigger. And absolutely, as time progresses and as automation continues, the working class will continue to be left behind, and the capitalists will run off with the money. They're going to bleed our coffers dry, and they're going to make sure that their pockets are as fat as possible, and we're going to be able to do nothing about it until we look at this system, which is capitalism, and get rid of it, because it very obviously is not helping me or you, the person watching this. Unless you are the son of Jeff Bezos or something, then why are you watching this? Go make some money, buddy.
Buddy.
You don't need to make money. You already are. More than we'll ever will in our whole lives.
Exactly.
I like how they framed that, though, at the end. Like, the response was, like, no amount of, like... Because this is a common approach in, especially more, like, professional middle-class workplaces, like, you know, therapy or, like, seminars kind of thing. And, you know, that's none of that shit comes at the point, because maybe they help a little bit, but it doesn't dig at the root, which is capitalism.
Exactly. Like you just said, it may help a little bit. The problem, the issue is the problem. I don't care if you're helping a little bit. I want to eliminate the issue entirely. I don't give a fuck about your little help.
I want to be basic, but isn't it like that Office episode where they do like the diversity day?
Oh,
it's them all in the little room.
Yeah.
And like, but the whole problem is the boss. He's like a piece of shit. Like,
that's a woke take.
Hot take, yeah.
Hot take. I think that's all I wanted to read from the Tribune article. They're fucking awesome. And then, so if anybody didn't have anything final to say, I want to move on.
Yeah, let's flip it to dog shit. Let's move.
Yeah. So speaking of trash neoliberalism, let's pull up that tweet here. So Joseph Robinette Daddy Biden, our new president-elect, he has decided to select Pete Buttigieg. Some of you are very familiar with this rat scumbag, as the Secretary of Transportation. The guy that fired the first black police chief in his district because he was uncovering racism in the department is now the guy who leads our Secretary of Transportation.
The guy who rigged the Iowa caucus.
Helped fund the app that was doing the voting, counting the votes.
We all knew it was rigged then, but I think there's recent documents that just came out we should cover.
Yes, we absolutely.
That showed it was legit. Like, it was even
worse
than we thought.
Yeah, it was ordered by the DNC. Pretty much ordered this thing to be rolled out like within an unreasonable time frame of the election.
Yeah.
This guy is absolute scum. Son of a very popular American Marxist, by the way.
Yeah, weird, but also probably worked for the CIA. And this isn't like being like that guy we had in our chat who's being all fucking
New World Order.
New World Order.
Tin hat.
This guy was literally in the military and flew to like Somaliland on some mission. Somaliland is like some country in Somalia that we've annexed and made like a military base in Somalia. It's just its own place because we've just decided to take it over. And he fucking went there and did like some like spec off shit basically.
And if you don't know that, it almost sounds the same name as the country. So it's like you don't even know the difference. Like, oh, it's just the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, look up Somaliland if you want to go on a rabbit hole. But there you go.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to bring this up because he's a terrible piece of shit. And we also have this video here
Garbage.
where he gives one of his very famous just trash word salad speeches. And
Before you play it, can I harp on just the fact that he's going to be the transportation secretary? Because it ties into the video too. It's like, what a piece of shit fucking thing to put him in, considering how destroyed our transportation is in this country.
Yeah, and he is literally the perfect example of somebody who's going to do absolutely nothing.
He has no experience too. People.
He was a mayor of South Bend. What experience does he have in anything?
In creating mass transit for this country, which is what we need.
What other experience does he have other than firing black people from positions of power? He literally is good for nothing else.
Yeah.
Or looking like a rat.
I can't remember who made the comparison, but they compared us to like China, like population wise, and they said the city of South Bend, Indiana, if it was an equivalent city in China, would be a small fishing village.
It might as well be. It's in like southern Indiana, so. Yeah, you guys want to play the video?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I've also had a personal love of transportation ever since childhood. More than once as a college student, I would convince a friend to travel nearly 1,000 miles back to Indiana with me on Amtrak. Though I know that in this administration, I will at best aspire to be the second biggest train.
It's true. Every gay man loves trains.
I spent a spring break in graduate school aboard a cargo ship studying there. Travel in my mind is synonymous with growth, with adventure, even love, so much so that I proposed to my husband, Chasten, in an airport terminal. So don't let anybody tell you that O'Hare isn't romantic.
What a fucking liar.
Personal love of transportation.
And if it's true, that is some psycho-ass shit to propose to somebody in a fucking airport.
Imagine being like busy-ass LAX, people coughing and sneezing, walking around and shit, and you're just like...
Someone's eating a Cinnabon on their fucking suitcase.
Yeah, just the fucking icing dripping off on their fucking shirt. Yep. And just, will you marry me in this ultimately, like, romantic place? It's like, yeah, psychopath shit.
Pete Buttigieg has his AR-15 on his back. He's just, will you marry me? And this the whole made up ovary part. That's some bullshit. I've been interested in transportation since I was a child. Shut the fuck up.
I like trains.
I've been interested in being the transportation secretary ever since Joe Biden presented me with the position.
Yeah, I've been interested in transportation ever since I was decided that I was going to be the secretary.
You're like, not saying liking trains is a fruity thing, but hey,
I mean, come on.
I like trains.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a little fruity.
Yeah, I'd say you're pretty gay.
Yeah.
I'm a little fan.
Oh, I like. Oh, yeah, you know.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. But moving on. Moving on here. After talking about that disgusting rat, Pete Buttigieg.
Another disgusting rat. We need another one.
So, Kelly Loeffler, somebody who's currently in one of the Georgia runoffs.
Can I give a little background on her?
Yeah, of course. Please.
Well, she's famous for when the coronavirus hit, she got insider information. She's a senator, and her husband sold off a bunch of fucking stock.
Sold off massive.
Yeah, massive stock, and obviously, insider trading is illegal, but that's just scumbag shit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, cashing out.
They didn't tell the American public that coronavirus was going to ravage this country and destroy the economy, which was already coming. We could talk about that in another spiel. The
Yeah.
collapse is already coming, and coronavirus just set it off early.
Yeah, and for those who are like a little bit more like politics wonks and you like watch more stuff. If you guys saw the debates, I don't know if you remember her whole radical liberals. Reverend Warnock, like she sounded like a robot during her debate. Like it was sad.
Have you seen the stuff she's wearing to the like debates and these rallies, or even in this picture here? Like, see this like kind of like a hometown gal with a checkered shirt and a little shirt.
Hunting with my
she's worth millions of dollars, and she sold off millions of dollars when the coronavirus pandemic hit, and profited on that.
Yeah, and it's something I'm gonna
millionaire.
That's something I'm gonna get into literally right now. If you want to click out of that, Kelly Loeffler just posed for a photo with Chester Doles, a former KKK leader who runs the white supremacist American Patriots USA. In 1993, Doles nearly beat a black man to death. In 2017, he marched in Charlottesville, and this is her whole thing. She wants to appear to the white Georgian base, as this hometown girl who's going to make sure that white Georgia gets what they want. That's why she's posing with Mr. Doles here, this scumbag, racist Klansman.
And it works in Georgia because it's so fucking gerrymandered, too.
Oh, of course.
Not to say there's not a lot of black people in Georgia. There's a shit ton of black people in Georgia. And they have a lot of radical working class politics.
Of course. Look at Killer Mike from Atlanta.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in Atlanta.
Of course,
but then look at the scumbags that are running the show down there, though.
You gotta understand, this is exactly what she wants. She wants to appeal to that racist white Georgian who's going to turn out and vote for her in as many numbers as they can get, because that's who she represents truly. And if we scroll down a little bit, we actually have another piece of shit who is hanging out with Mr. Doles here. Marjorie Taylor Greene, that psychopathic QAnon supporter who
she's a QAnon
who shot the Barrett 50 cal at the fucking
she shot a Barrett 50 cal at something.
She it was like an AR-15, like some kind of fucking big gun. She shot at like these like Sony Vegas like texts that were like socialism, Medicare for all.
Hell yeah!
Blowing them up with her gun.
That sounds so familiar.
She's I think, if not the first, she's among the first like one or two to be just openly QAnon.
Oh yeah,
Congress people,
like openly psycho.
Yeah,
and this is
fascist. Basically.
Yeah, this is what's happening in the South. This is why I wake up every day. As much as neoliberal shithole California is sometimes, I much rather live here than have to deal with.
Yeah, we have our own struggle versus their racist, this appeal where they're trying to appeal to the white,
we're dealing with racism here in California, obviously with neoliberalism, but it's
look at like Kamala Harris, who uses disproportionately black men who are in jail to put out fires for $1 a day. Like that's racism.
Or disproportionately arresting minority parents for truancy. Yeah, of course.
They just have their own brand that's particularly disgusting when you look, because it's something out of the fucking 50s. Like, they don't even try to hide it.
She was proud to sell our prison labor and advertise it to all kinds of buyers.
It's this
let them move into the prisons.
It's this bicultural elite racism. And at the same time she's laughing about smoking weed in college, at the same time she's arresting people for weed charges. She's just a terrible person.
Brands. Yeah,
she's gonna do whatever she can to posture herself as this hip, young, sick, cool person when she's very obviously
just like Loeffler paints herself as someone she's also not.
Kamala Harris is just an old racist white woman. Just close your eyes and listen to the shit she says and the shit she's done. Racist white person.
Well, the thing that Kamala and Loeffler share is they both serve the 1%, and the both thing they also both share is they both are chameleons and they pretend to be something else to serve, some base they assume they can use to destroy the working class.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the Republicans appeal to the white working class, and the Democrats try to appeal minority working class, and they don't try to go any deeper than that. Can't ask any deeper class questions.
Exactly. That's why they tie to these. We've talked about this too. Why do they tie to this these fringe issues like abortion, etc., so that they can use them as attack tools, basically, to destroy the real left.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone have any closing thoughts before we hit our break?
No, I'm cool. So for those who are new to the show, what we do every few articles here and there, depending on how big the show is, we do a break where you just play a song from a local artist, and we let you guys go chill out, go grab some water or something, go to the bathroom, so you don't miss any content. So yeah, we're gonna go to a break. We're gonna play a song. It's like a 3 or 4 minute song. Go stretch out, get your water and stuff. If you like what you saw, please drop a follow. If you're watching without an account, please create an account and drop a follow. It really helps us. If you guys have Amazon Prime, link it to your Twitch and you can give us a free Prime subscription. It costs you literally no extra money, and it only helps us in the statistics and analytics of Twitch. So yeah, on that note, we're gonna go into our first break here. We'll be back in a couple of minutes, and we'll be back, guys, with some more news.
Thank you to everyone watching. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. There's a lot of you watching.
We'll be back in a couple. Hey there, we're back.
What's good?
Hey
Y'all?
there. Hey there.
bud.
Hey there,
Q.
boy.
How's the Baltimore with Q?
Avenue.
Avenue. I heard about
Avenue.
you. I assumed. Get the
How are
fuck out of
you?
here, Baltimore. Come on.
Baltimore. Makes sense, dude. Are you kidding me?
Imagine getting robbed by someone. They're like,
Yeah, right.
give me your
Hey.
keys.
Hey,
Hey.
you know your money.
Yeah.
On the Avenue. I don't know if you fucking rob me.
Just fucking shoot me.
Yeah.
Just shoot me.
You know, I'm not letting somebody from Baltimore fucking rob me.
Yeah, fuck no. Thank you to everyone watching.
Yeah, thank you guys.
For those that weren't here before the break, we were talking about, well, shitty Pete Buttigieg being a piece of shit, Kelly Loeffler being a piece of shit, Kamala Harris being a piece of shit, I think, in there too.
And capitalism being a piece of shit.
Yeah, capitalism being a piece of shit, which is always a return.
The biggest piece of shit.
Yeah, what
Because it makes
creates-
everyone else be a piece of shit too.
Yeah, exactly.
Bang, bang.
But here we have good, maybe some light in the progressive wing.
Of course. We have everybody's favorite Nina Turner. I love Nina Turner.
Everybody's favorite Nina Turner. Well,
she
I guess I only know the one.
She has officially started her bid running for Congress and in Ohio, obviously. And so, we have this short little intro video that she put together, or her team put together. Let's check it out.
I am a daughter of Cleveland. I was raised in this community by parents who worked very hard. My mother was a nurse's aide, my father a truck driver. I can relate to people who live in the 11th Congressional District from all walks of life. I am you. As a Cleveland City Councilwoman, I worked to secure housing for seniors. As an Ohio State Senator, I stood with working families and labor to maintain collective bargaining rights. I led the effort to create the Ohio Task Force on Community and Police Relations. I know that the struggle is real. I want to serve as your next Congresswoman because I believe that everyone deserves a good job, health care, and our children deserve to be educated from pre-K to college. I will go to Congress to help our community recover from the coronavirus, including helping small businesses and those who have been hardest hit. We are going to do great things together. Let's get to work. I am Nina Turner, and I'm running for Congress.
Let's go.
He's running for Congress.
She has really good political instincts, so I think, like Bernie did at times, but ultimately he didn't. I think she will lean into the working class that built Bernie's campaign.
Of course.
And I think she will leverage that to be. She's gonna be a kick-ass congresswoman.
I hope more so than him.
Yeah, I think so. From what I've seen in general, she's way harder on really the neoliberals, the neoliberal wing of the party. And
I've already donated to the campaign. If you can afford it, don't do it if you can't, obviously. But check out her Twitter and obviously donate to her campaign if you can afford it. She's awesome, and she's fully funded by grassroots. Take absolutely zero corporate money. She's all for the people, man.
Plus, if you remember, she spoke at the Movement for People's Party convention, along with a lot of other great real progressives who know that the root problem is capitalism.
That's why I think she
understands
the outside part of of the coalition. Like, you can't just be working through the Democratic Party. You have to fight the Democratic Party and use the working class as your weapon.
Of course, and shout out Nina Turner.
And if she doesn't understand that, let's make sure she does.
Yep, precisely. Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah, This is actually sent to us by a friend, Jose. He works in the background at the show. On hand translator.
He gets our lattes and translates.
Yeah. It is relevant though, because it relates to how we talked at the CARES Act at the top of the show. Not only just being inefficient, it didn't meet people's needs, but also it fucking funneled all of our money towards defense contractors and other goonish enterprises. This is from ABC5. The city gets public backlash for spending federal COVID relief money on golf course clubhouse. Plans to use pandemic relief funding to build what leaders call a, quote, modest clubhouse on Forest Lake's city-owned golf course have become the target of criticism and outrage among residents and local business owners. Mayor Mara Bain defended the decision to use 10% of the $1.5 million the city received from the Federal Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security (CARES Act) to replace the small pro shop at Castlewood Golf Course because it would help with, quote, social distancing. Castlewood has unprecedented use this summer, Bain said. Quote, if we're able to more safely serve those residents, I think it meets the need. Forest Lake received the federal aid in June and has used much of the money for immediate needs, such as public safety and city operations. But after the city council voted unanimously in October to commit $150,000 to a new clubhouse, many residents, including Blake Roberts, a fellow member of the city's Economic Development Authority, started to question how the city was spending the federal money. So out of one side of the mouth, you have the mayor. She's like, oh, this serves the community. The people want this. And then the people are like, you're spending $150,000 on a clubhouse? What the fuck is wrong with you? People need money right now. We're starving.
No, but you don't get it, bro. Trust me, bro. Bro, listen, bro. If we get this nice clubhouse for rich people.
Ping pong table.
Yes, bro. Listen, bro. Socially distanced ping pong, bro. Come on, bro.
Yeah, do you know how much money the rich have? Do you know how much money they have to spend right now? And we could be building something for them to go spend money on?
We want them to spend money.
Because we're not going to tax them.
Do you know how
we're never
going to
do that.
Games we could have socially distanced beer pong games we could have in there?
We can have socially distanced stock trading. Like, come on.
It's just ridiculous because the little bit of money, as we were saying, the CARES Act was both a scam and it gave us nothing. And with the little bit of shit they gave us, they're just this, even local cronyism where they're just like, hey, let's just build a $150,000 clubhouse with this money. Fuck it.
Right?
It's
like,
wild.
Let's not talk to the people of this community, the people who are actually struggling during this pandemic. Let's just $150,000.
Yeah. We can move from this. I think we've brought up enough problems, enough shit today. So I want to end with some.
I'm sorry, Michael. I didn't fix it.
What happened?
Someone donated big money. Eian.
I gave some. I gave some biddies.
I see we have the squid emote.
Yeah, we have the squid. We're just.
Wait, why are you sorry? Wait, what?
Because the sound effect is you.
Because I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's
you saying donation.
I'm gonna do it one more time.
Oh, you use that one?
Will we get DMCA'd if I sing that song?
Donation.
Yes.
Donation.
Okay, I'm stopping. Donation.
That's from my account.
Thank you for the donation.
Robbed you.
All right, moving on.
Let's move on.
Let's pull up the Jacobin piece because it relates to our closing video, and I think the theme we started at the top of the show with is that capitalism doesn't work. This from Jacobin says Denmark's, quote, democratic ownership agenda shows we can run our own lives. Denmark's new budget promises more state investment in welfare spending, but also a commission on helping workers take control of their workplaces. Marking a break with decades of pro-privatization dogma, the bill is a small step towards an economy that serves social need, not just profits for shareholders. Hell yeah. As Denmark's dominant political force over much of the last century, today, the Social Democrats lead a minority government dependent on smaller allies. Important among these is the Red-Green Alliance, that's basically their eco-socialist party, known as a particularly strong defender of the welfare state. Red-Green Alliance economic advisor Poya Pakazad and MP Pelle Dragsted authored an influential report in 2018 highlighting how democratic ownership of workplaces could empower citizens and make the economy fairer. And on December 6th, a new budget committed the government to pursuing this agenda. In this article, Poya, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, explains how putting workers in charge of our workplaces can make the economy work for society and our environment, not just for profits. I'm so jealous of Denmark that not only do they have like a strong eco-socialist party, but they're within a conglomerate of just the Social Democrats, which is the ruling party. It's like, God damn
Boy,
it.
if we got serious when Trump was elected, we could be living right there.
Doing something like this.
We could be speaking Danish and everything.
But
Yep. So yeah, this is from Hoya, the economic advisor for the party. He says, on December 6th, Denmark's Social Democratic government signed the Annual Finance Act together with its parliamentary supporters, a document marking a break from at least a decade of austerity and tax cuts for the rich. Instead of the usual neoliberal assault on Social Security, the new budget increases public spending and boosts central parts of the welfare system, such as child and elderly care, education, and health. The act also brings a sizable stimulus package in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic and historically high levels of investment in climate action and defending biodiversity. So the budget as a whole is encouraging, but speaking as an economic advisor employed by the Red-Green Alliance, there's one small corner of the document that interests me the most. On the suggestion of the Red-Green Alliance, the act establishes an, quote, expert working group, unquote, to promote democratic ownership and workplace democracy. If successful, this promises to put local communities and working people in charge of their own fate, the first time in decades that there's an alternative to the privatization juggernaut. And we've touched on it on the show before, but like this has been done in other countries, for a long time. Like the most famous one is the Mondragon Corporation in Spain. That is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. It is a co-op. It's made up of, it's owned by the workers that work in that enterprise. It's in Italy. I would recommend. It's also something, or Spain rather. Sorry.
yeah, Spain. I was about to say.
Yeah, I would look that up. That's also something interesting.
And even I guess not as a good example, but Ocean Spray, they're a market co-op.
Right.
And they've actually in the past democratically elected to fire a CEO, and they obviously still have their issues. Ocean Spray is a company, but still, just being able to have that sort
You've
of
seen that move.
Yeah, being able to have that sort of worker power to fire a CEO is still something that most people, the overwhelming majority of people, aren't afforded. So it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I think as Richard Wolff points out all the time too, he's like, when feudalism came about, or capitalism came about rather, like it didn't immediately establish itself. It had to establish itself here, then it failed here, and feudalism was still here, and it had to. Socialism is exactly the same.
Exactly.
It's not
Just
just
like little instances.
Yeah, exactly.
One bit at a time.
As with the progression of any sort of economic system, you're going to have failures, and you need to learn from those and continue on better.
Yeah.
And sadly,
the problem is we're not doing that, and we're just smashing our head into the fucking wall.
Exactly.
Instead.
And sadly, with the history of socialism even being attempted, the U.S. has quickly striked it down. There's a long history of the United States going into sovereign nations and cooing their leaders, or at least paying groups there at the home country to disrupt what's going on in the country. And yeah, it's disgusting.
Well, if you think we've gotten used to exploiting a lot of these countries too, so Europe in a sense can kind of get away with a lot of socialism in their own countries because we don't necessarily exploit them for resources as much.
Well, I mean,
but they're also not extending all their resources in the same imperial fucking quest we're doing too. So they actually can spend it on their people.
But of course, with social democracy,
there's austerity in Europe as well.
Yeah, with social democracies, they're still built off the backs of the third world or the overexploited.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's still NATO and everything, and even the problems the EU has.
Yeah.
Yeah, and most of France couldn't exist without Algeria.
Yeah.
Shit like that, Yeah.
The problem, the problem still all leads back to capitalism. But yeah, let's continue on.
Yes.
Go ahead.
In all of its different forms. I think that's before we get in it, that's what we're touching. Exploitation, alienation. They're all just different symptoms and tie-ins to
capitalism. Which is the issue, yeah.
Yeah. Can we where we move down to where it says the democratic ownership agenda?
Yeah, he's there.
Okay. So it says the Democratic ownership agenda. So the really promising part of the budget bill concerns Democratic ownership. Around 690,000 has been dedicated to a, quote, expert working group to analyze and come up with recommendations to remove barriers to establishing a, quote, democratic company or democratize an already existing business. Clearly, this initiative is just a beginning, but if done right, it could spark a cooperative movement. And I think as this develops, we'll see, like, you know, the kind of moves they take. Like, they could do something similar like England, where they were, it was on Corbyn's platform where they were going to say, you know, if a business wants to, you know, move out, you know, to other countries, it first has to give the option to its employees to change it to a worker cooperative before it does so.
And
so they could do stuff like that.
And I believe it's in Italy. When you're put on unemployment, you have the option of going and starting a business with a handful of other unemployed Italians. I believe it's Italy. Somebody can correct me, but you have the chance of either getting a lump sum of unemployment money from the government and going in and creating a business with other Italians, and starting a business as a worker co-op, and then employing yourself, or you can stay rather unemployed and wait until you can get hired by another company. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so you literally have the option. The government says we will give you this lump sum of money to start a business, and it is your job to make the business run.
Insane. We would invest in people.
Exactly. You're literally investing in people, and you're also investing in the economy, which is investing in people. It's the same thing.
Absolutely. It's the smart way of doing it, because people make up the real economy, not the fake fucking, you know, stock market bullshit.
Not the lie that we preach.
Back in the article, though, I think he gets to that. He says, under modern neoliberal capitalism, the form of ownership that has come to dominate is joint stock ownership of capital, where your say in the company affairs is relative to your investment. This is not property in the sense of possession, like owning a bike or a toothbrush. This is by definition exploitative class property, the economic foundations of the formation of classes. The cooperative idea has always been a so-called third string of the labor movement, alongside trade unions and party political organization. Yet in recent decades, it has been relatively neglected by socialists. There's a healthy dose of skepticism and a recurring discussion among socialists about the nature and quality of cooperative experiments. Would a cooperative economy supersede capitalism? Could it serve as a transition to socialism? Would it mark an end to the compulsions of the market, competition, and profit maximization? These are all good questions, which I do not pretend to know the final answer to, but try for a minute to turn such questions into a litmus test for just about any improvement, large or small, that you can think of. If socialists did that, much often we do, we would not get anywhere at all. Property relations and the ownership structure of an economy underpin wealth distribution, social relations, and market interactions. On an individual level, having some property is a big factor in your ability to participate in the economy, access credit, negotiate your wage, determine your own work time, and plan your future. A democratically owned company not only benefits its employees in these pre-distributive ways, but it would also behave radically different from companies owned by a single capitalist, a family, or a small group of shareholders. This also has effects for society at large. Shareholders would tend to seek short-term profits through short-term investments, the reduction of workers' wages and labor costs, the externalization of risks, minimization of taxes, maximization of executive salaries and shareholder dividends, financialization of wealth, and so on. They also accrue political power, which they use to pursue such ends to the detriment of workers and society at large. Opposed to it, democratically owned companies, on the other hand, tend to give much higher priority to their employees and be much more responsive to the local community and the health of environment. Because if we owned our businesses, our companies, we wouldn't pollute where we live. We wouldn't pollute our environments. We wouldn't sell out our jobs.
And the individuals that live there are more accountable to the community for their actions. Whereas if you're just a giant multinational corporation, you come into a community and you fuck up their environment, and the people don't like it, you'll just say, fine, I've done my damage, I'll leave.
Or at the
Of
very
course.
least, if we fuck it up, at least we can blame it on ourselves. Like,
And look
we know
what's going.
Yeah, you can make
70%.
it better.
Yeah,
Look
we
what's going
can
on
make
here
it
in
better.
Oxnard. They want to bring the Amazon Fulfillment Center.
Yeah.
Amazon's gonna come in like they already have with Whole Foods. They're gonna come in, fuck up our community, exploit our people for their labor, pay them fucking jack shit, and then what are they gonna do? We're gonna get pissed off. We're gonna kick them out. Then they're gonna leave us unemployed, and they're gonna have fucked up our community.
Yeah, because it's Jeff Bezos that owns that place.
Exactly. It's not us. We have no say in what Jeff Bezos does to the Amazon Fulfillment Center property or the surrounding areas or what it's going to do to our community. We have no say. He's going to come in and fuck us over and then leave when it's like most economically good for him.
Yeah, and sticking with specifically our community, like everyone knows all the power plants like in Wainimi and Oxnard that are built on the beach. And it's like, well, think about those. Those are usually for the profit of a few. And we know like the one power plant in Wainimi, like they left a bunch of fucking toxic waste there and shit and didn't clean it up. And it's like, if we actually, the people owned a processing plant there or something, we wouldn't fucking, leave toxic waste and destroy our own community and our beaches.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I would recommend reading more of this this interview. Well, it's not really an interview. He basically just writes the piece, but yeah, and I think this ties into our playout video here. Before I go into that, do you want to do like our wrap up here?
Yeah. So yeah, if nobody has anything final to say, I'll go ahead and do our little wrap up that we do. So thank you guys so much for watching episode 22 of the Spoop Podcast. We really appreciate it. We got 2 new follows. That's awesome. Shout out to you two that followed us. If you liked what you saw, please drop a follow. We'll be back here on Sunday at 10:30 p.m. We're here every single Sunday and every single Wednesday at 10:30 p.m. Of course, because that's when we get off work or when I get off work at least. That's that's what works for us. But we'll be back here every single Wednesday and Sunday at 10:30 p.m. If you like what you saw, please drop a follow. If you're watching without an account, please create an account and drop a follow. It really helps us, and it helps grow the community that we love and want to continue to nurture and grow. If you're watching from our YouTube, listening from our SoundCloud, checking out a clip from our Instagram or Twitter, please come drop a follow here on the Twitch. We really appreciate it. Also, if you have an Amazon Prime account or your parent does, please link it to your Twitch. It costs you absolutely nothing extra at all, and you can give us a free Prime subscription. You can skip all the ads that play because now that we're affiliated, we get ads, which sucks. I know. Sorry. But yeah.
Don't buy it though. Don't buy it.
Yeah.
Only do it if you have Prime already, but don't buy it.
Yeah, you don't have to spend extra money on a sub. We still appreciate you just being here and help growing our community.
It's amazing to see 10 people is awesome, which is the thing we got now. About at midnight, it's awesome to see.
Yeah, we're sitting. It's midnight 06, and we have 12 people here chilling with us. We super appreciate it, like super. So yeah, we're gonna be back here Sunday. If you like what you saw, please drop a follow. I said that like 7 times already. Check out our Instagram and our Twitter at Spoop Podcast, or YouTube. Just type in Spoop Podcast. We're still working on the SoundCloud stuff. We're getting everything edited down, and we're gonna have all that
Christmas stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna have all that stuff. We're gonna have presents for you guys. It is the holiday season. It's getting hard out here in the pandemic, but we're glad that you decided to come out here and chill with us. It really means a lot. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get out of your hair. As I say at the end of every single episode, workers of the world unite and do whatever you can to organize in your locality. If that's Oxnard, California, we're here to be a microphone for you guys. Also, reach out to people like Oxrev Study. They're a huge part of our organization here in Oxnard. Reach out to them. Reach out to us. We want to be a microphone for this community. That's like our huge thing. Also, if you don't live in Oxnard, do what you can. Organize where you can, what you can, do what you can. Change starts from the bottom, and we have to keep fighting back against the top. Keep punching up. So yeah, workers of the world unite. Please keep fucking with us. We're here to support you guys, and hopefully you support us. Pablo, good night again.
Pablo,
thank you so much. Thank you so much for that sub last time. That's crazy. You're nuts. Yeah, so we're gonna get out of your hair. We got this speech from Richard Wolff here. Everybody have a great night. We'll be back on Sunday.
Is this the right? Is this the right time?
Yeah, it's the right time.
Yeah,
okay.
Perfect. All right, we're gonna get out of here, guys. Later.
Love you. This is the solution, children. Listen intently. This is what we've been talking about all night. Richard Wolff has been the centerpiece all night. Listen to his words. Take it in. Let's make change.
Yes, and for those who are just listening, if you want to look up the speech, look up on YouTube. Richard Wolff with 2 F's. Speech, Capitalism Has Failed. Richard Wolff with 2 F's. Speech, Capitalism Has Failed. We'll see you guys on Sunday. Good night.
The solution is to not permit this way of organizing the production of goods and services to continue. This crazy arrangement in which a tiny number of people with no democratic control can decide what to produce, how to produce, where to produce, and what to do with the profits. And the solution? Easy. Democratize the enterprise. Here's how it works. Every day, workers come to work, they do their work, and then once a week, once a month, it doesn't matter, the workers all get together and decide democratically what to produce, how to produce, where to produce, and what to do with the profits. And believe me, folks, you don't need to be a genius to understand. Suppose the question comes, should we close the factory in St. Louis and move to Shanghai? That would take the workers, I don't know, 6, maybe 7 seconds to decide. We ain't going anywhere. End of discussion. And why would the workers do that? Because they're not going to eradicate their own jobs, destroy their neighborhoods, screw the banks that lent them money, stop paying taxes to the community that pays for their schools. Come on, they're not going to do that. You wouldn't have had the exodus of American industry because they wouldn't have permitted it. End of story. And let's talk about distributing wealth. At the end of the year, the corporation has profits. If it's a worker collective, if it's democratically run, the workers all get together and decide how to distribute the wealth, the profits. You think they're going to give a few people billions of dollars while the average person can't send their kid to college? Not going to happen. They won't pay everybody the same. They'll have some differences, but nothing like what we have. You want to do something about inequality? Here's the solution. And folks, it's the only solution. You know how we know that? Because we tried everything else. We have every kind of tax arrangement, every kind of redistribution. We tear ourselves apart as a society over the redistribution of wealth. Mr. Trump and the Republicans tried from November 9th when he was elected to today to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, the Obamacare, in order to stop taxing wealthy people who had to pay for that. I don't know if you're aware of it, but the way that was paid for was by taxing people who earn over $200,000 a year, or couples that earn over $250,000. That's who had to pay for it. And that's why the Republicans went against it, because that's their patronage, that's their people, that's their support. And they were delivering to them what they had promised, a tax cut, a wonderful one on the rich. The rest of the conversation is irrelevant. And if that meant depriving 24 million people of coverage, all the rest, the talk about mandates was all noise. We don't want to have a mandate telling us what to do. Americans, Fred,